Validation is what makes life feel a little less like a Kafkaesque nightmare. Psychologically speaking, validation is the process of acknowledging and accepting someone's feelings, thoughts, or experiences. But let's be real, in today's world, it's like the emotional version of capitalism. It feels more like a transactional exchange. You validate my existence, I validate yours. You get what you give, but it's never quite enough to fill the void, is it? And just to be clear, validation doesn't mean agreement. You can totally validate someone's feelings without thinking they're right. Like, yeah, I get your concern about the nuclear war, but let's not book a vault just yet. Joking aside, as humans, we've been craving attention, approval, and connection since forever. It's practically coded into our DNA, from a basic survival of the species standpoint. It's like everything we suffer from is the aftermath of some form of a brain mechanism, and in this case, we're hardwired to avoid rejection. Because back in prehistoric times, being liked wasn't just a bonus. It was the difference between chilling with the tribe or being a lion's lunch. Rejection back then didn't just hurt your feelings, it got you eaten by some toothy bastard. We're social creatures to the core, and one of the fundamental parts of being human is that deep primal need to feel understood, accepted, and connected to others. Because even now, there's a tiny part of our brain whispering, stay in the group or else. What else can signify the revelry of a spirit long hardened by the absence of recognition, bearing the crushing weight of others' indifference, only to be momentarily seduced by validation, that fleeting illusion of worth imposed by outside eyes? Is it any wonder that in this moment of brief reprieve, much that is absurd and hollow emerges, as the soul clings to the illusion of being seen, craving more of that empty affirmation? This entire affair, this validation, is not a celebration, but a curse dressed in borrowed glory. It masquerades as fulfillment, yet binds the mind to a cycle of dependency. Validation becomes the invisible chain, tightening its grip each time it offers a hollow pat on the back. The soul's once raw and primal strength, which thrived in solitude, is now siphoned off by the need for acknowledgement from those who barely understand. What was once an exaltation of personal truth becomes a hollow dance of conforming to others' expectations, and the cycle repeats again and again, with each brief nod of approval feeding a deeper hunger that can never be fully sated. Validation does not free, it binds. It stifles the self, keeping it forever tethered to the opinions and judgments of others. In this fleeting moment, the soul risks losing itself entirely, trapped in the illusion that its worth must always be borrowed from someone else. Everyone is the other and no one is himself. Heidegger's concept of being towards death forces us to confront our own mortality. It's a sobering reminder that life is fleeting and that the pursuit of external validation is a distraction from the reality of our finite existence. When we embrace the fact that our time is limited, the endless chase for others' approval seems increasingly absurd. True authenticity emerges not from conforming to the expectations of the day, but from accepting our mortality and choosing to live in a way that is genuinely meaningful to us. It's about making the most of our limited time by aligning our actions with our true values, rather than those imposed by others. Heidegger writes, "If I take death into my life, acknowledge it and face it squarely, I will free myself from the anxiety of death and the pettiness of life, and only then will I be free to become myself." I can understand why it's not appealing to contemplate one's imminent death all the time, but it's one countermeasure. Look, when it comes to validation and mental health, seeking approval from others is about as natural as breathing. Seeking external validation is natural, but it should complement, not replace, your self-validation. You are the ultimate judge of your own worth and your abilities. If you rely solely on others to tell you how great you are, you might as well be waiting for a cat to come back and tell you how perfect you are. We know that's not happening. No one else is coming to save you from the existential dread of your own mind. So make sure you've got your own back, or you might just find yourself adrift in a sea of other people's opinions.